All right.
Woo, let's do this.
We are live. Okay, so welcome to Two Queens and Crystal Things, the podcast where we are on some manifest your life.
You better come on now.
Shift your mind and raise the consciousness type of shit.
So that's what I be on.
Look, that's what we are all on.
All day.
I am Christie.
And I am Mia, and you can consider us your spiritual girlfriends for the next hour or so.
Hey.
So look, okay, guys, last week we talked about trauma and healing. We talked about, okay, wait, let me say this again. Because, y'all know we're good for a disclaimer. We are not by any means trained or certified to diagnose a damn thing.
I mean, that was my undergrad, but I'm not a clinical psychologist.
However, as people who have experienced trauma, as people who are on their spiritual journey, and sharing in that with so many of our friends, colleagues, family members, whatever, the discussion of trauma is important. So we're here to have the conversation. So a lot of the things that we talked about was, what is trauma? What does that actually mean? How do you identify it? What are some things that you can do to help yourselves?
Yep.
What are some healers that you can go to, clinically, spiritually, medically,
whatever?
But we want to go a little bit deeper today, and I believe we said at the end of that episode that we were going to have a part 2 of this, and just because I also think it's so timely, you guys. Everything that we're going through right now, we're coming up on a year of the national recognition of COVID on the 11th, and this is trauma that we're experiencing. Now, mind you, it will be trauma has a scale, so for some it will be high trauma, and for some it'll be low trauma. But the fact of the matter is that we are all dealing with trauma. Yep. Every last person who is listening to this, so. It's a good conversation to have. So what are we getting into for part 2, Christy?
Yeah, so today, and this is, okay, so I love when we interview people.
Yes.
But, I mean, today it's not going to be like a formal interview. It's going to be a discussion, but we have a very special guest who is also a really good friend of ours, and ironically, we went to high school together, which is it's such a small world. But the reason we invited her is because she is the perfect person to expand on last week's discussion of trauma and healing. So I'm going to go ahead. I mean, who better to introduce themselves than the person themselves? I could do her no justice, so I'm going to ask her, Mija, to go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the listeners.
Hey, girl. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm the sound machine for my flies.
I'm honored that you guys asked me to come out here and talk about trauma, which is something that I specialize. And I guess I specialize it because through fire, I just kind of
trial by fire.
Yeah, right. I was traumatized, so I am a Reiki Master. I teach Reiki. I am also. I have so many. I was just thinking about that.
She's like, what do I do?
Also, a Neurolinguistics Programmer, NLP, Akashic Reader, emotional freedom techniques, and thought field therapy. And I was doing all this as a life coach, and I realized the more and more that I was helping people with their goals, a lot of people were having issues that kept coming up,
right?
In their unconscious mind. So I went back to school.
Yes, you guys, this is career 2.
Right, this is career 2. So after 27 years in the financial industry, as a financial analyst, I had my MBA, and we could talk about so much trauma in that industry.
Oh, I believe it.
Last week we were talking about being at New York. I actually worked at the World Trade Center.
Oh my gosh!
Was demoted 1 month before.
What? Isn't that
back home? I'm getting goosebumps.
Wow, me too.
I was like working for Morgan Stanley Deanwitter. I mean, it's just
Oh my gosh.
But what I liked that you guys were talking about, I liked everything that you guys were talking about. That trauma is anything that deregulates us, anything that makes us think of things differently, experience things differently, and and it's throughout our whole being, right? And one thing I wanted to kind of touch on is, if you guys remember what we used to say, we would say mind, body, and soul, right? Yep. Now we say, right, we have 4, right?
Mind, body, soul, spirit.
Right, we add spirit in there, right?
That's true.
And I think that's a lot of, because we're starting to understand that there's this spiritual aspect of us that carries a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
So, right.
Yeah.
Come on.
So you can have trauma on all 4 of those areas of our bodies.
Yeah.
So you can have trauma physically.
Oh, we're about to get into it.
You can have trauma in your mind, trauma in your spirit. And so a lot of people ask me, why do children have trauma? Like, what is that? And I'm going to touch on something that some people may get upset about, but I think that has a lot to do with your soul wants to experience something. And, when we're 6 years old or 7 and somebody's physically or sexually or any type of abuse that's happening, it's nothing that we did to attract that in our life, right? Mm-hmm. It's something that our soul wanted to experience that for some reason, right? And then, so that can leave trauma as well, right? And then when you talk about the spiritual level of trauma, you're talking about past, present, future, and dimensional.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
we were actually talking about that. Remember,
Yes.
we were talking about like past. So I have this back issue, and I had a reading, and I really think that it stems from past, like another life trauma that's resurfacing now that I need to deal with. And I would, maybe not now, but I would be interested to hear your thoughts on that, just like how you can heal in your present life from past life experiences.
Yeah. Well, wait, I want to hit on something you just said real quick, too, before I forget. You talked about, oh my goodness, come on, Mia. You were just talking about, you can have trauma in either of the 4 areas. But with the soul trauma specifically, I'm curious, when people are dealing with soul trauma, you said, like, for instance, we're giving the example of, there's something, a part of your soul wanted you to experience that. And I understand that, because I think that's how I explain to myself the difference between good and evil, and it's all from the same place.
Yeah.
So, we have this discussion about, I'm sorry guys, the ambulance is the ambulance. Ooh.
I hope someone's okay.
It is ambulance, right? That's not the fire
It might be a
truck.
fire truck.
I think it's the
that
fire
now.
truck. Yeah.
I can't remember who has what the sounds. But, we talk about how, we all come from the same source. But, so, Christie, I think you use this analogy, like, to consider source the sun, and then we're all sun rays. So when you think about, like, when you are a light, the things that we're able to experience, the tangible things that we are able to experience is new and exciting when you can't experience that. So, I can totally understand why we would look at some people like, oh, you're evil. It's like, I can literally see what I want to experience those feelings. I want to experience how that feels to be evil. Yeah. Only because I can't do that in other forms. Yeah. So I do think that we come down here manifested in these avatars that we're in, and sometimes we do choose like I'm gonna go balls to the wall this time. I was an angel last time.
I'm about to fuck it up.
I want to experience it. So I understand.
That's
what
interesting.
You're saying. Not just because, of course, a child's not trying to attract that. But I understand from a soul and multi-dimensional level. That's how I rectify good and evil to myself.
Well, you touched on a point, and I think you guys were saying that you talked about Carl Jung. One of the main things is you can't really embrace your divinity until you embrace both the light and the dark, right?
Yeah, so the yin and the yang. You got to put them together. Yeah. It's the sphere, the whole being.
Because in my angelic Reiki training, one of the things that they say is that there is no such thing as duality because we are all one.
Exactly.
We all come from source.
Exactly.
Whether it's light or dark, we all come from one source. And so when she put it that way, I was like, I never even thought of it that way. Right. Because we like to break things up.
I want to tell you this though. Having that type of understanding of the duality or non-duality in us, I think it helps people to be so much more forgiving of others and forgiving of yourself. Which bring talking about like when you think about trauma, some of the trauma that people go through is because of decisions that you made. And you're like, I can't believe I did this. Like, and I went through all of this, but So understanding there's no good or bad in you, it just is, helps you to forgive, like, I'm just being who I am, and now I'm in a different place, so it allows you to just let that go, because that was then, this is now, and this is where I be, and I is me.
Yeah, right. I love it. And that's what a lot of us can't do. We still hold on to this. I can't tell you how long it took me. You were talking about your ex. I was thinking when I was listening to you last week, I was like, oh my God, I was there too. Like, I could not forgive myself for a long time. Like, how the fuck did I get married to this guy? You know, what was I thinking? Right? Yeah. And you know, is it less so? You know, like a lack of self-esteem.
I know. I do all of that, right?
All that. Oh,
what is it about me? Why do I attract you?
Exactly. Oh, I get that so much. Well, why did you stay?
Why? You know,
some situations. Ooh.
But then, you know, if you had children with the person, you're like, oh, okay, got it. You know, that child couldn't have came through with anybody else but you two. You know, you find ways to, I don't want to say rationalize, but you find ways to understand the divinity in it.
Right.
You know, and then you're like able to welcome it. But a lot
That's
of
a good point.
Yeah, right. But a lot of people are not willing to do that work. Or they think it's so bad to think of the shadow or the dark part of themselves. You know?
Gotta get to the nitty gritty.
Got to.
And honestly, and we talked about this too. Like, once you do the work, what's on the other side is so much better.
Exactly.
I mean, of course, the work continues.
Well, and that's the thing. It's the work continues, and challenges still come, and it's still going to be things that come up that you're like, I don't want this necessarily in my life, but you can just handle them so much different. It's because you're in a place where you understand this is temporary, and there's the reason that it's here, and so let me just surrender to this moment and figure out, or I shouldn't even say figure out, surrender to the moment and allow whatever it is I'm supposed to take from this, allow it to be what it is, because I'm here, so I'm supposed to be here, so let's roll.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
I believe there's a lesson in everything. In everything. So.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's some good stuff.
So, if you don't mind just asking, what made you, what is it that made you decide, okay, not only am I going to change careers, I don't think you could go any further on a scale from financial to spiritual healing. Like, I mean, you went, but baby, you did the 180. I mean, I don't know what else could she have chosen that's the exact opposite of that. So, take
but that takes a lot of courage, because I think most people would be like, oh no, sis. You're crazy. Right. You've lost it.
You know, I think opportunity sometimes pushes you out the door. Yeah. I'm gonna be real. So, like, my first spiritual awakening happened when I was in high school. I was walking down the hall on the 4th floor, and right out of what's it called, homeroom, and I was, well, I'm just gonna let it out. I was talking to myself. I'm just gonna be real. And somebody said, "Who the fuck you talking to?"
Sounds about right. That sounds like high school.
I was like, I'm talking to, and I realized all of a sudden the person was gone.
You're like, no, but for real though.
Right. And so the whole day I started questioning myself as I'm going to class, like, who's real, who's not? Like, I was literally seeing, like, things coming through, and I said, what the fuck, right? And so needless to say, here in our culture, we don't celebrate when a person has an awakening, right?
We don't.
So, my parents, being the good parents that they are, they put me in the hospital, right? Yeah, right?
Oh, you told them?
Well, no, I had a full breakdown at school.
You're like,
I had a full breakdown at school. And so, you know, and I'm being very open to talk about this because I'm learning how to tell my story because this is happening so much. But had I been at home, so I'm Haitian, so had I been at home or had I been in Africa somewhere, it would have been embraced. Like, yes, she got the calling. She got it. You know, here we go. Let's go to the village. You know, the shaman or the healer would have took me under their wing and taught me. But that's not our culture.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So, for many years, I learned how to shut my mouth. Don't act like I see it. You know, and if I do see it, let me go to the doctor and get a pill to pop it. You know,
get it out. You gotta go away. Yeah.
But then I would have like little situations that I would just know certain things that nobody else would know, right? And
I had that too.
It's
scary.
You know, but I still would stuff it in, you know. got a career that I could sustain, money and, but one day I couldn't sustain it anymore. Like, my supervisor was questioning my Christian beliefs because I started writing for Conscious Community magazine. And even though I was working for a government agency, this Christian belief of how it's supposed to be. So I practice full moon and new moon rituals, right?
Oh, wait, how long ago was this?
This was like 4 years ago.
4 years?
This is just...
I was about to be like, oh, I know. They thought you had a pointy hat and a straight broom in the closet.
Yeah, this was just recently. This is just recently that I left that career. And needless to say, it was so brutal because she would come to me and talk to me about something, or somebody would come to me and talk to me, but I would hear their truth. Like,
See, that's how mine was. I could hear what you were saying. That's how I came to me. That part.
Yes.
Oh.
And it was really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah. And people, I honestly think that, when we talk about, what would your superpower be? And a lot of people are like, I would want to read minds. I'm like, actually, like for real, like tapping into somebody's raw and uncut thoughts and emotions. And it's also not fair to judge somebody because I can go from so fast. I can look at them and be like, oh God, what is that? Damn, you do look kind of cute today. Depending on where you catch me in a moment. So I don't think it's a fair assessment of a person unless pattern, history, behavior, all that stuff. But I think when you really go into someone's thoughts and mind, it's actually scary. Because sometimes if I'm sitting around the house and I would think to myself, well, if somebody could hear and because it's not like I'm plotting anything crazy, it's just the type of questions that are coming up about existence. It's just like, oh boy, if somebody heard what I was just thinking.
Right.
But it's but there is a way to read people's energy without necessarily having a superpower. And because we do it all the time, we just don't realize that we do it. Like you walk into a room. You come home from work. Your man sitting down. You like, hey baby, and he say hey, and just the way he said his energy, like, you good? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is everything okay? And like, you know what I mean? You could come in. You can come in the house. No one even says anything. You can feel excitement in the air.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's reading energy. So when people we lean into that, it's all a superpower that we have. Like we just doubt it.
We have to tap into
it.
We
know when we walk into some
excitement,
some happiness, some bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tell people all the time, like at some point in time, everyone has walked into a room where an argument just took place.
And
and you're like,
felt it.
Yes, it's like a thick wall. You like, it's that thick.
What did they say? You can cut the air with a knife.
Yes,
everyone has had that experience.
Yes. But it was like, as much as I knew, like to like put shields and put myself in a bubble, so to speak, or how Saint Germain talks about, putting the rays around you, right? I would still see their past lives and how I kept interconnecting with certain people at my job. That I literally was like, okay, something's gonna have to give. And she came and told me, the Lord told me that I'm gonna have to fire you. I said, what? I said, oh.
Okay. Like my whole face.
I know, right? But like, that's why I say sometimes you get pushed out. Because I was like, I do not want to leave this job. I'm not going to lie. I liked the money. I liked what I was doing. I felt so comfortable. But it was time for me to go because the information, my story, it had to come out because a lot of people are hurting like this, Yeah. And so I actually think, I do. I think the beings for the situation. I think it was great. Now I can say it was great, but at the time it was like pure hell.
Well, but like you said, and sometimes our guides, our light beings, they will set up because maybe you had to go through it where you had to get kicked out, so you wouldn't feel like you missed anything. Because sometimes we like, this one thinks this is really about all the money, but so let me go ahead and give it to her. Go ahead. Now let me show you what it's really about. Right. And you're like, oh wait. But had you say if maybe been presented with this in the upfront, you're like, I'm sorry, baby, that's not my path. Good for you, Toodaloo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because do you think you would even be where you are had you not
Experienced?
Absolutely not.
See, you guys.
So they knew. I mean, it's like everything happens for a reason.
And
Spirit knew. It's like we get comfortable, we get complacent. It's like, no, I think it's time.
Yeah.
She's ready because she's really liking it right now.
Oh, she's really liking it.
You know, and I try to dip my foot in it. I was writing articles. You know, I was doing the life coaching, but I had no idea about leaving. Yeah, but it's you know, I just want to say this. It's the contract that you signed before you came in.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I think, Mia, you talked about that in one of our episodes. Yeah. So. You say, regardless of what you all feel, we all chose to be here. You know, we made that decision.
And we set up, I think we set up our awakenings too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think we left breadcrumbs for ourselves. Sometimes I genuinely, when something happens, and I realize that this is a breadcrumb that I left for myself, it is overwhelming. I mean, like, literally, it'll bring tears to my eyes, like,
I'm that bitch. I'm
like,
right.
Looking out. Good looking out for me.
like, literally, like, for real, overwhelmed, like, bitch, you did that. Like, me talking to me, like, you, ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'll get excited and be like, girl, you is the master. Oh, girl, you ain't even know how far your plan was.
Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly, right?
And it's exciting. Even with all the stuff that's happening, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah. I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't change a thing. And I think it made me see spiritual people and spiritual leaders in a different light. Because you guys just touched about past lives and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, in my past life, I found out, you know, through a past life regression, I was a monk, I was a priest, I was an oracle. But I was always killed for my spiritual.
Oh my God! I can't even take it.
You know,
girl, both of us just talked about this.
We were talking.
Yeah. We just talked about this. So even us being able to speak openly, I mean, is sometimes it's overwhelming because there's no fear of retribution. And I know that has been a soul trauma for me. Like I literally, like, you know. And guys, we all can. Everybody has the ability to do this. But I did a soul regression, and I mean I actually saw it, like felt it, like I mean like you know, and I felt like I knew exactly what happened. They were upset because I was a man at the time, and I was up telling the truth, and I was telling and I was telling people that they were guys, and you know, and I remember the time and everything, and this man just. Spear, right? I mean, it was crazy. Wow. And I just remember it, and it's just like, so now we're in a place where you actually have the ability to just, you know,
be open,
to be free,
to be open. And this is the thing. It's not even. It's so new. It's like last 5 years, you know, people start opening up a little bit, like, you know, when what's the girl named Gwyneth Paltrow talked about a yoni egg? Right. People are like, ooh, oh my goodness, that's salacious. You're like, ooh, it goes deeper, y'all.
Right. Way deeper.
You know what I mean? But now, like, and I would say within the last 2 years, I think that the openness that people are having, the willingness to at least hear it and not automatically shove it
Judge,
off as the devil's game or something like that. That's super new.
The age of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding!
The age of Aquarius.
But and then when stuff like this happens, you have to say, actually, it might be something to this. Everybody, I know people have heard of the age of Aquarius. Yes. And everything that is happening, just even us being able to have these type of conversations without fear of retribution or being killed. Yeah. That's a whole new age, y'all. Like, and I always wonder, when you're in the middle of an epic or momentum time, do you know that I'm in the middle of something momentous? Or is it, do you know what I mean? Like, I honestly think when we're in the middle of something, we didn't know. Like, think about all of us were kids when hip hop came out. Hip hop we're just listening to music, but do you know that you're literally in a time shift? Like, shit is shifting.
Right. Yeah,
like, this is
good stuff.
I don't think you know until, you know, unless one, you ask and you allow yourself to rise above and see the situation. But I think until it's over, you're like, dang, wait a minute, I was at the launch of the Age of Aquarius. I was right there. That's
for real. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, and just to see that era, the old past and switching from logical to now more emotional, right? So that's why we can have these type of open conversations. We didn't share this way. Like,
no, we didn't. I know, I was afraid.
Right, I was afraid to talk to people about my...
Because in high school, I had similar experiences, but I realized that none of my friends were talking about it.
Right. What high school this was? Hair was going out.
It's Harry Potter's high school.
Exactly. Hair was going on.
But I realized what I was experiencing was not the same thing that other people, like my peers, were. So I felt like I couldn't talk about it.
Right.
I could not, like, because I didn't want to be looked at as being crazy. I didn't want to be looked at as being a witch. Although, like, some part of me I thought it was cool. Like, okay, like this woman she was a roommate with me in college. She thought I did voodoo for whatever reason, but I let her think it. I was like, honey, that's fine. Anyway,
I guess you won't mess with me, will you?
Did I tell you this story?
No.
So, okay, brief story. Sorry. She might be traumatized, so this kind of deals with this. She might be traumatized. So she got me in trouble. And she was a commuter student, so she wasn't in my room all the time. But I shared something with her that should have been kept private. She told the people that it was a dream that I shared with her about these two lesbians that were next door. And she basically told them that I started the rumor that they were lesbians. I was like, boo, they were lesbians before I came here. And then they wanted to fight me. And so one of my friends gave me an idea. She was like, talk in your sleep. Say less. And so I was a dancer at the time. I took French in 7th grade, so I couldn't remember all my French terms. So I just said ballet terms. Rond de jambe, passe, pirouette, pas de chat, passe.
My God.
And I was talking in my sleep. She was moved out the next day.
I love it.
But stuff like that. I was like, go ahead and think that.
I love it.
Oh my God, Jesus! Why? That is so funny.
But I mean, in some respect, I kind of thought that, like, people thinking of me in that way, I was just like, I thought it was kind of cool, even though I wasn't. But I was just like, sure, I'll be a witch, I'll be a voodoo person, sure.
And then and here we go about the African diaspora religions and cultures, that have been demonized,
right?
But this was our way of life.
It was.
So I mean,
I think when you think about all of the we'll call them religions that were demonized in this Western society, it was all ones that were connected, where you were connected straight to the source.
Yes.
Like there wasn't a
go-between.
An ombudsman for God. You know what I mean?
The middleman.
Right. So you can't have control over anyone if they can go straight to. But if I tell you there's a go-between, and the only way you can even get to taste the presence of the essence of a creator is if you go through the people that I say, that's total and complete control of your life.
It is.
Total control.
So of course we've been brainwashed to forget all that, because let me tell you something, because we would have never been slaves for that long had we remembered who the hell we were.
Yep.
Exactly.
And that's because when you did have those type of uprisings, it was somebody was just like, wait, no, give me up out of here. This is not who I
Help
am.
me
I know the divinity in me.
Yep.
That's why they made us stop singing.
No, yeah.
All of that, because that was a way for us to praise and for us to pull that connection. And
so much power came out of that too.
So much.
And I know that they were intimidated by that.
Yeah, they are intimidated by that. That's what, even now. Like, I was reading a book for school. I'll admit it, and he, Kotler was the person's last name, but he was talking about becoming a therapist, and he said he went to the bush people to watch what they're doing. And he was telling the Bushmen what he does. And he was like, so you help people like this? Where's the chanting? Where's the drums? Is the village all together?
Right.
I mean, and that's how we used to heal each other. We used to heal each other together.
It was a collective. Definitely was a collective effort.
And you stand in this gap for that person.
Actually, kind of like the retreat.
Exactly what was the retreat. Now, there were some people who thought they just wanted to work on themselves, but we have to work together collectively. And then back to the retreat, that was a way of healing from trauma with indigenous practices.
Okay, so can you share because I know Mia and I kind of glossed over the retreat. We didn't go into depth about it, but can you kind of share, like, what was the retreat? What was it all about? What was your focus? What were the goals?
So the focus was really to just...
Mija created a spiritual retreat for women that Christie and I attended. I'm just giving background because I didn't know what y'all talking about.
So that was back in June.
That was nice.
Yeah, it was back in June. In the peak of what people were calling, COVID, and are you going to still do this? But I knew it was time for us to do it. I knew it was time, and it was 10 women. We came together. Yeah, it was 8 women. 8 women. Yeah. We came together, and I taught about Akashic readings, and we talked about like different levels of our souls and different levels of our being. And let me go back real quick. I know we talk about 4 right now, but there's one more, which is the monad. Yeah. Right? So I just want to add that. And I think once you get into that dimension, you'll learn more about the monad. But at the retreat, we eat vegan meals, no meat, and we actually take medicine. And it's the type of medicine that the medicine woman or the medicine man used to give to the community to get connected to our higher selves, or God's source energy.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, right? So it was DMT. It actually, we went to a different dimension that day.
Yes, we did.
There were things that were lifted. There was things that were changed that people were never
Mia wants to ride that rainbow
again. And there was people from all different backgrounds who were there, and we helped each other with what we were going through. And I learned this. I learned this from a Filipino. And I noticed it was so natural for me to do it that I went back and I actually asked one of my cousins, hey, and come to find out, my great-great-grandmother, I found out, was a medicine woman.
Of course.
What?
Yeah. So it's like understanding who you are and understanding what comes natural. So
yes, stuff that comes natural to you guys, it's because you've done it before.
Right.
It's a part of your soul's DNA. So when you click into something, you're like, some people be like, I don't know how they do that so fast. It's just that's part of your soul's wisdom and experience coming to life for you in this plane in time. That's a beautiful thing.
It is.
Like you're just like, oh, this, I don't know why it feels like this. It's just, I got this.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. And I'm going to be clear. It is DMT. You're opening up part of your brain that is usually taught to, for us not to tap into. And you can tap into it through meditation. I just find that the medicine kind of helps. Now, I'm to the point that I don't really partake in medicine anymore because I could just kind of meditate and go into that opening of the trance.
I think Dr. Joe talks about that too, like using meditation.
Yeah. And then another form of medicine that I have just now it's going to be 6 months because I wanted to learn about how to handle people with trauma, because this comes when you do tap into that area, you open and you expose yourself to some trauma that you dealt with, whether it's in this lifetime or previous lifetime or a different dimension. Ayahuasca. And recently I didn't ask permission to say her name, but she's a doctor of psychology, and she was talking about how ayahuasca is not being presented to the Black culture. And when they do tests, like there's a lot of tests at Berkeley for DMT, mushrooms, ayahuasca, but they're not bringing any Blacks into it. And go ahead.
But do you think that's because of the Christian mindset that we've kind of been brainwashed to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Wait,
no.
See, no, I think she's saying, I don't even think they're presenting it to Blacks. Where it's not like we're saying no. They're not. They're just like, no, this is not for y'all. Go away. As opposed to us being presented and saying like, no, that's the devil's liquor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be. I think it's a little bit of both. I think I think we have been so brainwashed about our power and our divinity. Like we have to go through so many people, to even get connected to God.
Yeah.
But in her studies, in her trying to talk about ayahuasca and trying to understand where the healing is from, I can't tell you that. I'm gonna be open. I was on like 9 different medications, 1 night of ayahuasca, and I was off.
Are you serious?
To the point that my psychiatrist calls me and he was like, listen, you're not filling up any of your prescriptions. I need you to come back in. We need to talk. When I told him I had ayahuasca, he was like, oh, you should have told me that you were interested in that. He knew.
That is crazy.
He knew about ayahuasca, but did not even bring it as a possible healing tool.
So how is it? Because I've heard of experiences with ayahuasca and how there's some people that will vomit and purge.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm just amazed at the fact that he's like, oh, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? That's your job. You told me.
I'm the patient.
Because that's the easy, quick fix. That's where the money's at. There's no money in all this.
And yeah, you're right. You got to think about it. For him to be alerted that she's not refilling her prescription means there's a money trust.
Oh, absolutely. This is
Dr.
all money.
Right.
This is all about money.
We're losing some money. Your patient hasn't refilled in a couple of months, and you need to call her and see what. So it's not like I'm worried about your well-being. It's I got an alert, and I don't want these people calling me because I get paid to sell.
One night of ayahuasca.
I was presented, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I did some studies. They sent me some emails, some information about ayahuasca, and actually I was going to go to Costa Rica, and I was going to go to this place. I'm not going to tell you the name of the place, but they denied me because of my labels of mental illness. So I was like crying, was upset, and then found out that there's people who have like little small groups of ayahuasca.
Yeah.
Here in the States. And I went, and I was the only Black. Matter of fact, they looked at me like, when I was pulling up, they're like,
are you in the right place?
Exactly.
Sammy lives down the block, baby. Keep going. Right there. You see the Chevy right there? That's Sammy. Okay, night-night. Like, no.
And it was a lot of Romanians, Polish. It was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. And so after my psychiatrist said, oh yeah, I know about it, I've heard, I didn't know that you would be interested in that, I didn't even know that was an option. I went back again, and the healer, the woman who was doing it, she was like, I'm being told that I need to teach you how to administer this, where to get, all this. And I was like, really? So it's really something that I think it's in you, like being a medicine woman, being,
I love that.
I'm so into this right now that I'm actually going to do a presentation at my school at Northwestern about the decolonization of therapy and mental illness. This European mindset of like they came and saved us and showed us how we have to handle mental illness. We've been dealing with this forever.
Yeah.
It was just that we did it as a community. And stuff, so.
Ooh. Okay.
That is so fascinating.
You just blew my mind. 9 different medicines.
Girl, it was...
For what?
It was pretty bad. I'm not ready to talk about that.
I mean, not specifically. I wasn't asking for a specific answer.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it's just... It was just that I couldn't sleep. The breakdown at work, I felt like people were following me. Come to find out they were, because when I sued them, they had like all this information. Oh, girl, yeah. I couldn't remember how to even drive my kids to school. That's how much the trauma was. And my supervisor at the time had told me that a man said that my shirt was too low. Well, she had no idea that she just triggered me about a time that I got raped when I was 17 and didn't know who it was. So now I can't walk into the elevator if I see a man in there. I'm closing my office door. So, we need to be careful with our words, right?
Yes.
And so all of this stuff was coming back, but it was all pushed down, for so many years. So
deal with the shit, you guys.
That is one thing I think that that is that takes something from an incident that has an effect on you to trauma. And I think sometimes an incident, something that happens that can hurt us in that time, but doesn't necessarily have to be trauma, but because we don't deal with it, and we push it down, it's almost like when it's like a piece of gum or something. Like if you push it down, it spreads out. And now I'm covering more area in your life because you have not addressed this.
Right.
So if you haven't addressed you know, say, you know, you saw, you know, your dad beat your mom and you never addressed how that affects you.
You know, I'm traumatized. Off of something recent.
But you know, you see these type of things. Yeah. And then you start, then when you normalize it, right? Because you have to make yourself feel better, because as a child, how do I sit in here and see this happen and make it feel safe and secure that everything is okay unless I make that normal. And then when I go and express out in public this is normal, I get told very quickly that I'm a damn fool. And so now I'm gonna push it down, but now I'm not gonna say anything about it. It never happened. And then now this person is an adult, and the way that they handle and speak and believe that relationships are handled is based on what they've seen, even though they logically would know better, but because they never handled it, that part of their life has gone into trauma, and now it affects the way you see relationships.
That's true.
He or she could be fine in their career, they could be fine in every other aspect, physically, no trauma, perfect body, specimen, everything. But the way that they look at relationships is all based off of that, and only because you never addressed it. Yeah. That shit right there, because I know so much stuff that I, like, real talk because I'm just like, I assume that if you push it down and don't think about it anymore, that means it
will not go away. It just piles up. So I do have a question. So, because there are some people, and I know you understand, like, when you have trauma, that sometimes it'll break up pieces of your psyche, and you can kind of, like,
compartmentalize.
Right. So if a person does not know or realize they have trauma, how can they deal with it?
It will come up. And when it comes up,
be ready to deal with it.
Be ready or be courageous to deal with it.
Okay.
But there's
I like that, courageous.
You know,
yeah.
And then
that's
courageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'll find hints. And it's called disassociating, right? And there's levels of disassociating, right? Girl, y'all just have me talking. Okay, so I had the highest level of disassociation, still deal with it, that I can't tell you that I went to school and got my MBA, because that part of me didn't get the MBA.
Another part of you did.
Another part of me did.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Ooh. Another part of me did. To the point I couldn't even balance my checkbook once I had my recent breakdown. I was like, what is going on? So it was like a whole chunk of my life because I pushed it down for so long.
Ooh.
And you let the other person or other aspect of you to deal with that.
So is that how you get to
different personalities?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I'm like, why can't I?
And they do it on purpose. Like, there's this whole MK Ultra programming where they do that intentionally to break a person's psyche so that they can compartmentalize certain things. And they'll train people to, like, get information from government agencies, memorize, like, you can take pictures, like photographic memories, because they can do that when they're able to break the cycle. I mean, there's it's so fascinating.
Right, yeah. And then we do it, like, not being trained sometimes because we can't deal with the trauma, right? And our bodies, our minds are so fantastic. They're geniuses. They figured out how to
cope.
It's like, she's not stepping up, so here.
Come on. I got some blockages over here. Come on, boys. It's time to build these walls.
You know, and you know, it's such a beautiful thing that our mind works like that, to find ways for us to cope, you know?
That's amazing.
Yeah. But in our society, we don't think it's amazing. Like, you know, and I see things like, I forgot what's the name of that movie with Split.
Oh, yeah, I saw that movie.
Yeah, that is not the way it is. You know, I would say the movie that, I think it's Frankie, and
I feel like they sensationalized that.
They do, yeah. The movie that I think depicted, which was based on a true story, was Frankie. It was Halle Berry played a woman who would wake up and didn't know when she bought the clothes, didn't know where she was. Like, I was, it was
really?
that, yeah. So I think now I'm very, like, passionate about sharing that story, because I think so many people have that. Like, people who are diagnosed as bipolar, I think more people who are really just called bipolar are really dealing with some disassociation. And it's so easy for me to pick it up when I have somebody in the office now, you know, because, you know, like, I don't want to say like attracts like, but I can tell, like, what do you mean you don't remember your father died? He just died December 17th. okay, let's talk about that. You know, because you know, a client was talking about all these other things, and I was like, well, do you want to talk about your dad died? No, my dad is not dead. It's like that.
Okay, no worries.
Right. So stuff like that, while other people will be like, you know, my girlfriends didn't know that they thought it was funny when they would have to call me a different name. They had no idea it was really because that was a different identity, right?
Oh, they thought you were.
Oh, wait. So I actually heard about one of your people.
Right. So it was just a joke, right? It was like
just so they thought you were being like Sasha Fierce, like Beyonce had the alter ego, but you're like, no, you were dead. I'm sorry, I'm just no.
Yes, that's how it was, and not until like you kind of embrace like, okay, this is like, I think my husband is a saint. I don't know how he deals with it. I really don't. I mean,
go hubby.
Yeah, he's awesome, and even friends, because there's been a lot of friends who couldn't handle, you know. So like, you know, Shannon, I love and adore her. She's like my sister, but she did a lot of shadow work with me, you know. So yeah, but it's a process. I think that's where my niche is going to be, is trauma, and just helping people who they developed a mechanism, whether it's you know, a maladaptive mechanism or whatever. They developed a mechanism to cope with the trauma.
And you know, and I love that because I think that makes it palatable for everybody to understand what trauma is. It's like, all I did was I adapted.
Yeah.
All you did was adapted to what you were, to the environment you were being presented with. And now on the other side of it, it's easy for you to judge and say, you know, why did this happen? But like, understand that you did the best thing, like, because your brain is so brilliant.
So brilliant.
So you mentioned shadow work. So what would you say to people who want to begin that process of shadow work?
Ooh, the dark night of the soul.
The dark night of the soul.
I
know.
Flashbacks.
Don't be ashamed of it. I think that's the first thing. I mean, and I think most of your listeners, if they're spiritual or they're in their walk or starting to be spiritual, don't be ashamed if during a reading or if something comes up, someone says to you like, oh, you have this dark part of you or this demon. Be like, tell me more. You know, because the more that you recognize, the more that you know, tell it to pull up a chair, let's talk, let's figure this out, why are you here, the more that you'll realize that it's really developed to protect you from someone.
Yes.
Right?
It's really like a sergeant at arms.
Right. Yeah.
That little,
I just got,
you know? Right. So don't be ashamed of it. Like, if somebody's like, oh, you got so much darkness in you or whatever, like, oh, no, tell me more about it. You know, because that's when you'll start to embrace, you know, who you are. And then seek help. We're not supposed to do this by ourselves.
No, we're not.
You know, seek help. Ask questions. You know, come to a retreat. Like, I
want to bring this up. So we two things. One, you just said, you know, seeking help, and understand, you guys, this is why we do stuff like this. This is why we have this conversation, because we want to normalize people being able to be open and free and honest with where they are. And this way, because when you speak, then you find your tribe. Right. If you never open your mouth or say anything, you don't know, you know, who your people are. So yes, there'll be some people that aren't part of your tribe. That's okay.
That's okay.
But open your mouth and speak, because you know your words have power. So you start to attract healing to you. And there's all different types of methods of healing. This is one of the reasons why we wanted to have Mija to come on. Spiritual, there's clinical, medicinal. Yes. So we just,
even financial. No, I'm joking.
Get that fast, and I'll be fine. But speaking of community, one way again to find your tribe, especially when you're going, if you don't feel comfortable that you are with some people that you can have those type of conversations with, going to retreats, especially retreats where they are you know, geared to help people kind of elevate themselves, understand and see themselves, because then at least you have like, okay, this is what's happening with me, and you can go find whatever your healing modality is that works for you. Retreats are a good way. And so I know Mija is planning a retreat for, you know, so this might be some of y'all tribes out here now. So Mija, tell us about this retreat.
So we're going to be in Nevada, Florida. It's April 9th through the 11th, and this is called the Spiritual Alchemy Retreat. And in this retreat, the main thing, or actually I'm calling it an immersive weekend. Because I've been told a couple of times, these are not retreats. We work so much. Yeah, you're going to learn a lot. So at this retreat, we're going to actually get in contact with our higher selves and start the process of becoming our higher self. We have a couple of activities that we do. I can't take credit for it. I was taught this about 5 years ago, and it's almost like you put a mirror up to your soul, and you identify who you were supposed to be or who you were agreeing to come on earth to do and the work that you want to do, and now it's connecting with that higher self of yours and walking into it.
Can you explain what the higher self is?
Yeah, okay.
We say that a lot.
Yeah, I do say higher self.
No, I know.
Right.
We say that a lot too. I'm like, I'm glad you just said that, because I never, you don't know sometimes words.
It's your true divinity. It's your true, unadulterated, complete self. It's more than your soul self. And
your higher self knows everything.
It knows everything. It has actually programmed everything that it wants to experience in all different dimensions. So, people talk about this Mandela effect, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, they'll say, I just know I put this here, or I know this used to be this way, but it's not here anymore. It's not this way anymore. Well, it could be a
program, a
glitch. Yeah. Not only in the matrix, but the glitch in our dimensions of your soul self, your higher self connecting, right?
So I think when think about it, when we were talking about the sun, so then, like, if you think like of a graph, like you have like the sun is the CEO. If you think like a employee graph, like, you know what I mean, and the organizational graph, and it's like it comes down, and then there's like this the like all the SVPs and everybody, and it's like, so that's like your higher self.
Yes.
And then your higher self has their whole little organization and team that are all these different dimensions and places that you are, and one of them is who we are. So when you're connected to your higher self, you're going straight back to the first ray of light that came out of God's eyeballs.
Yes.
That team, I'm going back to my source, like my bosses.
Yeah, I like the way you said that.
I like that. That was beautiful.
That's how. That's I'm a visual, so I got. That's how I think about it. Like, okay, I'm going back to the big boss. That that came out of, that was the
original,
one of the first manifestations of God's, of the creators. Like, oh, I am. Ooh, what can I be?
Right.
Let me create these 50 things.
Right.
That one of them 50.
Right.
Yeah.
If you study Egyptian way of life, they call it the non, or the Jewish culture, or Kabbalah, they call it the Adam Kadam, So there's many different names for your higher self, but we've been so programmed not to connect to that. So at this retreat, we do exercises to connect to that and to connect to what you're supposed to do. So that's what we'll be doing. And then also we'll be doing a healing retreat in the evening. We're off the beach. It's a private home, and I'm really excited. We have, I think we have I think 3 more spots left.
I saw the pictures. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm really excited
what
about
the
it.
Food?
Oh,
I'm asking the questions people want to know.
Yeah, the food is vegan, and it's always good. I'll say this: I've been blessed to get to learn different chefs or introduce myself to different cooks who can really. But this time I have a cook, and she's.
Is it the same?
No, it's not. No. It's a cook. She found a way to make Southern cooking vegan. Like, I'm like,
ma'am.
Oh my gosh. I was like, this is great. You know? Yeah. So
that's gonna be good.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about it, and I just think.
So where can people sign up, learn more?
Oh yes, you can Instagram at Soul Ascending 1. Number one, yes. Or you can go to my website, which is thesoulascending.com.
So that's Soul, SOUL, Ascending, for our spelling challenge. That's ASCENDING.
Number
one.
Yes.
The digit 1. Soul Ascending 1 on IG. And the website is thesoulascending.com.
Yes.
Bam, boom, bip.
Yes. I am so grateful for you guys to have these conversations and just like all the topics that you guys talk about. That's part of, raising the consciousness. So,
Yes.
So something that we ask people whenever we have conversations with them, that we interview them, we ask them some similar questions. So what has been the hardest part of your journey?
Accepting myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what has been the best part of your journey?
Finding my tribe. Realizing I'm not by myself. There's like,
I'm not crazy. Oh my gosh. Right. There are days I'm like, okay, am I crazy?
I didn't even think that's. I might have to add that to my top 3. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Because you just can't have these conversations with everyone.
You can't, right? And then when you do find somebody, you be like, girl, can I talk to you? Like,
because that's how, I'll have to share off of this, but that's how I met Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just having conversations. Sometimes.
All right. Anything else?
So
we're at 55 minutes.
Oh wow! Let's
go.
So we are going to. First of all, Mija, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, I really enjoyed this.
I did too.
And I'm excited. And honestly, you guys, I really am excited. And y'all, I'm always excited, but I really am excited about the idea and the thought that people can for real recognize and acknowledge their trauma and understand how it's affecting their day-to-day lives and take it one step further and be like, oh, but wait, I don't have to live like this. I like, this is coming to my forefront for a reason, and there are so many things that I can do about it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we gave you guys ideas. Get to Googling. Look up, like I said, you want some energy work from either Christie or I, Akashic Record readings, Oracle readings, there are so many healing modalities. You guys can find us, you know where to find us. But honestly, there's so many methods. Like I said, if you don't feel like you have a tribe, there's somebody you can talk to, and you are in some deep trauma, you need to understand you, go to retreats. Yeah. I mean, guys, the conversation is open. Take advantage of this opportunity
and do what works best for you.
And whatever just comes to you and speaks to you or moves with you, that's what works for you.
And that is what is good and right and perfect for you.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to say? Did we miss anything? Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share?
No, I think you guys hit it on a point. I just think that the main thing is just go with the flow. Your higher self is communicating with you. Just
all
listen.
the time.
Just listen.
Hey.
Yeah.
Listen to your higher self. Okay, so this week, sorry. So this week, we're not going to have a crystal of the week, but what we are going to do is I'm going to ask Mija, what is your favorite crystal and why?
The lapis.
Ooh, communication, throat chakra.
Why you let that
Also, during a past life regression, I saw that I used to wear lapis, so I find
really. So you're just attracted to it.
I'm attracted to it.
Is that why you like that blue over there?
I do. Yeah.
Mija came to my house one day. She was like, she said,
"Oh, that is so funny."
She sat down. She was like, I think I saw that blue picture in my dream. I was like, this is about to be good. We're gonna have a good little session right now.
Yes. Oh, and that's another thing. Use other healers. If I can tell you anything, if anybody tells you they are the all be all, all you need to do is go to them, run.
No. Lie.
And if they can't tell you
factual.
Right. Yeah, if they can't tell you who's their teacher or who they've been working with or whatever, run. That's ego driven.
And you got to be mindful because that energy, people will.
Yeah. So I mean,
that is so true.
Yeah, the point is, I saw both of these women after my retreat. I was so because the healer needed to be healed.
Yes,
healers need to be healed.
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes. So I had some energy work with Christie, which was great, and I had a reading with Maya just to kind of reconnect. So. I just want to say thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Okay, so what's an affirmation that you would like to share?
I love lapis. I'm excited about that.
I love lapis too.
Well, I'm going to just tell you the one that I do, and it's really simple. I sit down, close my eyes, and I tell myself that I am that I am. And when I say that I am, I envision whatever I am trying to go for in the future or where I'm trying to be. And it's just I am, and I see like a comma, that I am.
I love that.
Wait a minute. Can I tell you, I just got a chill. I literally just wrote a whole paper about the comma.
The comma.
The comma. I am not. I bullshit you. Like Christie knows. Yeah. I am is.
That is her thing.
That's my thing, girl. I got it. Like I literally, like it is. And my name is I am. It's an anagram of I am.
Yeah, Mia.
So I'm very much. And I like so when you said that, I literally almost teared up because.
Yeah.
I just. But when you said, and I visualized the comma, I was like, oh my God, because the comma changes the meaning of, the commas, the punctuation marks, but in that sentence, the comma changes the meaning of that from like I am that I am to I am that I am.
Right.
Like
like there's more.
That is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Right.
And so, we hear this story when Moses was on, and he said, who should I say sent me? And when you think about it and really start understanding I am, I almost imagine a source kind of laughing. What you mean, who should I? What the fuck is you?
Right.
Okay, how can I say this? I am that. I am. So pick something, motherfucker. Right. That's me. What's gonna make you feel good?
Right.
So that is, and I love that affirmation, Mija, honestly, because it's such a good way to just kind of reaffirm every day, understand like you are that.
Yeah.
And so if Creator's saying I am that, he's talking about you too.
Exactly.
Because we are all part of source.
That's such a good affirmation to remind us to, the divinity in us. Like, oh, girl, when you said that comma, I was like, oh, shit. Girl, I know. Literally, I'm going to send it to you. I literally wrote a whole piece about the comma. I'm dead ass serious because I'm like, one day, I'll be over here reading. I'll tell y'all, I'll be nerding out. And it just hit me. I'm like, the comma changes everything about this damn sentence. And I might have been high. Who's lying?
I mean, every day.
It's only like a 99% chance that I might have had a gun. But I wrote some prolific shit.
I'm sure it was. But one thing I want to say, and I know we are shut on time, is we profess every day with I am. How about we say, I'm tired.
I always tell people, right?
All these things that we profess.
Yes.
I tell people, mind your words.
Mind your words.
Because our words have power.
Right.
And we talked about words being spells.
Yeah. Yes. Especially when you begin something with I am, you are making a declaration to the energy, to the spirit world, to the gods, to everybody, universe, what you are. You say, this is what I am. And we're so used to it, it's sometimes hard to catch. Like so quick to be like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Yeah. Like if you forget your key, like if I just did it, walking downstairs, forgot my mask, like shit, I'm so stupid. Yep. Like damn, why I gotta be stupid? Why couldn't I just have forgotten? Right. And this is me talking to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do that.
Oh boy, you get it. All right, girl. What's our message for today?
Oh wait.
For the week. That's you.
Oh, that's me. Okay. Wait, hold on. I got something for you. Okay. Because
she's like, I'm ready.
All right. So.
It's for the collective.
This is for the collective, right? So, stuff like this, I'm really proud of you guys. I always think that we need to help one another. And I do calls like this, but this one, you guys, is so fun. So I love it. So I'm going to read what I say in my calls, and this is for everybody. The purpose is for us to support our interests, to elevate the nation, and to help ourselves and Mother Gaia in her awakening process. But to make that happen, it starts with you. Start with your own awakening. Understand your own abilities, your own powers. Seek a guide within yourself. Know that you are connected to God's source energy. That's what it is.
I love that.
Seek a guide within yourself.
Yeah.
Yo.
Because we don't have to go through this alone. We're not alone. We are not alone.
Yes. I love that.
Thank you. This was great.
All right. So I just want to thank everyone for listening to Two Queens and Crystal Things. Thank you so much, Mija.
Thank you. Remember, you can follow her at Mija.
Soul
Sorry.
Soul Ascending 1.
The wine just kicked in. That is Soul Ascending 1.
At least it's not me this time.
I'm like, this was what I said. I'm like, no, that's not it. It's Soul Ascending 1 on IG, and her website is thesoulascending.com.
Yes.
I got that right. I had to say it slower all the way down.
So show us some love. Show her some love. Thank you again for everyone that's listening, sharing the podcast. We really appreciate you guys. I cannot believe that we are at 7,500 downloads right now.
Yes, you guys.
Actually, over 70. It's over 75.
Yes, you guys, show up and show out. Spread the word.
Spread the word. Thank you. But if you have any questions, you guys know how to find us. Thank you very much.
We out. Love, peace, light, and soul.
Peace, you guys.